just wanted to do a quick whiz through. Everyone's sort of got the book. Have you managed to read the first 2 chapters? So I'm going to go quickly around the room. Let's just start off by introducing yourself. If you can come on camera for the session, that'd be great. It's always better on camera. So unless there's a dire issue, I would just love it if everyone could be on camera for our sessions to build connection. But let's just quickly whiz around the room, get to know each other, who's in our group, say a bit about your business, about why you've chosen to join this read along, what it is that you are looking for out of these sessions, and yeah, just a quick intro about yourself. And then if you've got the book, just let us know what format you are reading the book in. Christelle, I'm going to pick on you and ask you to go first, please.
No problem at all. Hi, my name is Christelle. I am the owner of Assistant Works. I'm a virtual assistant company. I offer services to businesses, small to medium. As far as the book is, I still have to get my order. I haven't received it yet, so I will do some catch-up reading. And I hope to learn as much as I can for my business and how I can improve things for my clients going forward. So that's my aim.
Thank you, Christelle. Pamela, are you able to come off mute and just do a quick intro?
I'm just finishing up with the client. I'll be there just now.
Okay, cool, no problem. Sabata?
Oh, yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sabata. I am an occupational therapist. I'm running occupational therapy private practice. Oh, yes, I've got my copy, a hard copy. Since I've gotten it, I couldn't put it down. It's so interesting and it's a very nice read. It forces you to try and implement certain things as quickly as possible. Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks, Sabata. Derek?
Hi, everybody. I'm Derek. I own a business that's in telecoms. That's a consulting and cost management business. I've read 1 or 2 books. Often found they relate to what I would say is the typical American environment. So I'm still quite keen to read something that's more applicable to our South African environment. And yeah, I've got a copy on my Kindle. And so, yeah, read up to where we need to read to, but looking forward to learning some new stuff on that book.
Cool. Awesome. I've also got a hard copy. So this is a hard copy that my husband actually gave me. And he read it when he had his own business. And then when I started my business, he gave it to me and said, I think you should read this. And 2.5 years later, I'm now reading this book. And I'm like, why didn't I read this earlier? So, yeah, so I think that's, and I just, when I read something, so I mean, I read it, and now I'm listening to it on Audible as well, because it's narrated by this guy, by Michael Gerber. And I really am sort of kicking myself for not picking it up sooner, but I definitely felt once I had got into it, I felt that it was something that I wanted to share with other business owners. What I love about it is there is a distinct lack of name dropping. Some of the other books that we've read, there has been this kind of, oh, when I worked at Google, or when I worked at Facebook, or when I worked at one of these big like Silicon Valley companies. And it does, as Derek was saying, take it into a context that isn't very relatable for us as South Africans. Whereas I think this book, even though it is written by American, I think it is a bit more relatable for South African business people. And that's, what I've particularly enjoyed about it. I think the methodology that he shares is quite universal. So yeah, that's what I've enjoyed. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. So we've read chapter 1 and 2. And I loved what he described here as the entrepreneurial seizure. That moments of frustration where you're like, oh, if only I owned my own business, life would be so much better. And all these things that you imagine for yourself, the financial freedom and working from anywhere and spending more time with your kids, and serving happy customers. And yeah, and I wondered if we could go around and just share a little bit about when did you start your business? Why did you start your business? What were you trying to achieve, or what were you trying to escape? And yeah, let's just chat about what was the why behind you starting your own practice or your own business. Christelle, again, I'm going to start with you. Please tell us why you have decided to start your own business.
I always wanted to start my own business. I've always just didn't know what it was going to be, you know. So, and being an executive assistant, I've always just thought one day I'll do it. One day I'll find something that I would like to start and, you know, just do it for myself. And this just happened. And I started August 28th was the day my company registered. So soon it'll be my first birthday.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. And it's been an incredible journey so far. I've loved every moment. I've stressed a bit. I've been excited. I've been jumping for joy. But I know that there's no limits, and I know that there's a lot I need to still learn. So I'm here. I've got my hand up. I'd like to learn everything you've got to share. And so I'm going to be there. I'm going to be like Velcro.
We always are. Christelle's a regular in my read along. So I think you've learned a lot in the last year since we've worked together.
Definitely.
Sabata, what was it that forced you out of your comfort zone, and what did you imagine for yourself when you started your entrepreneurial journey, when you started your practice?
Okay, before I began in my practice, I had worked for a corporate company for quite some time, precisely Metropolitan Health. So I worked there. We were doing a different, I was given different responsibility. The push was when I was appointed a team leader, and I really sucked at that position. I was just all over the place. I could not know what to do until I was saved by a retrenchment. I guess it saved me because the company was retrenching, and team leader Sabata was also retrenched. I then joined a private occupational therapy practice. Then when I was there and comparing the pressure that I felt when I was at Metropolitan, it felt like that pressure I felt at Metropolitan had prepared me. I was not aware, but it was like it had prepared me, and things were simpler and much more easier on my new job now as a junior occupational therapist. Then I felt this is something I can do, and if I do it myself, I can even have more time. And obviously, I thought more money, I will also have more money. Until then, I joined I began my solo company in 2018. And then the repeat of Metropolitan Health began. Now I found myself, I think the proper word now I learned from this book, the E-Myth, that you find yourself in a washing machine mode, because without you, things are not happening. And you find yourself facing the same problems over and over again. And I believe that is where I am now. Now there is no retrenchment to save me, but I believe I will learn from this book, and I will improve and implement some of the things that I believe will help me and my business so I can work on the business. That is my aim.
Great. Saved by retrenchment. It's not something that many people would say. That's an interesting story. Derek, do you want to tell us your story? You've been in business for a long time. Can you remember back to 2004?
Yeah, I can. And this is about his journey and how it started. It was pretty similar. I also wanted to get into my own business. I never wanted to be a solopreneur. I always wanted to be with a team. And I had an opportunity to start in 2004 with a small team. Three of us started a small business. And really, we started that business because we had joined an investor who was hoping to get a business going, and it didn't quite work out. So after a year, he came to us and said, "Look, he needs more cash quickly, and it's not coming as fast as he would like." So he requested us, and so three of us started a business, and then by default, 4 years later, 2008, I actually went into business on my own. And it's been a very interesting, it's been exciting, but it's been a very lonely one. And in fact, I'm in a position where I'm looking to find ways of how I can actually hand this business over to other people and sell out of the business and start something new. I'm looking for some new challenges. And this business is, yeah, it's a great business. It's a great journey. And I hope, in the next couple of years we can look at moving, my journey on with this business, continuing to be successful. So, the book hopefully will give me some insights as to how to make sure that the business is bigger, greater, and operating perfectly and effectively working myself out of a job. So a very different position to the others on the call, but still important that I know how to set this up properly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's you bringing a different perspective to the conversation, which is great. So, as a very established business owner looking to develop a business that has value, so that you can live the life that you're dreaming of. I think that talks to, largely the second half of the book. So stay tuned, guys, because we will, your businesses will look like Derek's business, hopefully, in 10, 15, 20 years' time. Derek, your microphone is quite muffled. It sounds a little
Okay.
like you are, I don't know, underwater, but it's.
Do this, Anne. I'm going to go
that
to
is
the
much
mic.
better.
Is that
That-
better on my
yeah.
laptop? I don't know why my mic's playing up. Okay.
Pamela, welcome to the call. Sorry that you were finishing off with a client. Do you want to just quickly tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial seizure? What was it that made you get out of your cushy comfort zone in your corporate job? And what was it that you were expecting owning your own business to do for you? What were all those illusions of grandeur that you had? Maybe some of them have worked out, so you can tell us about that.
So I think I agree with everyone. I love the seizure that he kind of depicts in the book. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I think mine was just a need to be with my children and a need to recalibrate, my home situation. So I think the biggest thing that pushed me towards it was just that idea of managing my time myself. And it has been really good to be able to do that. I think I'm not sure where in the chapter it is, but I definitely am like recoiling. So I want to do everything myself because I think I'm just so amazing. But that's not the role of a business. So I marvel hearing Derek, like just that idea of having a business, building a business, selling, having a business, building a business, selling, just that mindset is what I'm actually here for. And I've already put things in place now to kind of shift away from being the person who does the job. And I think as Sabata, you also know, as a therapist, you feel like you have to do everything and you have to be hands-on. So I think that's really been my challenge, and I'm looking forward to moving away from that as we go through the course.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. All right. So we move on from this entrepreneurial seizure and the fatal assumption. And the fatal assumption is that if you understand the technical work of the business, then you understand the business. And that is the root cause of all failures. Because you don't necessarily need to do the technical work to understand or to have a business. And so he introduces in the book this lady called Sarah, who actually has got to the point where she hates her business. She is so sick of pies. And I love that he's chosen, something so simple, you know, he hasn't chosen like, I don't know, some kind of fancy tech company. He's chosen something so relatable. And she hates her business. She hates going there. She hates baking. She hates the thing that got her so excited. She took the work that she loved to do and she turned it into a job. And that should have been fulfilling, but it's not anymore. It's not making her excited to get up at 3 a.m. and start baking those pies. So I was wondering if there's anyone on the call that can relate to Sarah. Is anyone sick of their business in the way that it is? Christelle's in the honeymoon phase.
Definitely,
Yeah.
it's about at this moment. As a therapist, the work that I'm doing right now requires me to frequently prepare reports. And if you are to prepare so many reports, you find yourself not completing other stuff, then you'll have to make up for that time and maybe wake up in the early hours of the morning, do the reports. And if you ask for some assistance, you feel like they're not doing it up to your expectation. That's where I am. You feel like even if somebody is assisting, you still need to do it or to check it so you are sure that it's done to your expectation.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's also it's so important to check in with yourself to make sure that you know the reason you started the business, what you were hoping it gave you as a person. And if you were looking for flexibility, if you were looking for financial freedom, whatever those were, and if it's never going to tick all those boxes, you know, I mean, it's that's life, you know, I mean, we'd all be running our own businesses and ticking all those boxes if it was so easy. So it's difficult, but if it just ticks one of those, you know, you might be battling financially, but it gives you the freedom to spend more time with the family and with the kids. That's a huge thing. So don't give up on that. And I've learned over the years that it's never going to be, you know, the 3 or 4 reasons as to why I started the business are going to be there. There's always 1 or 2, and they vary. Some years you have a good year and you think, okay, financially I'm doing well, but gee, the workload, that was terrible. The motivation to get up every day and do it wasn't great, but the next year changes. So just having 1 or 2 of those tick boxes constantly being ticked and gives you the motivation to keep going. So I think it's a good character building exercise, and you've got to keep working at it. It's not an easy thing. And if you're a solopreneur, it's not particularly not easy because you really feel like the world is on your shoulders, making every decision and not bouncing it past business partners. That makes it really tricky. But some people prefer that. So just remember why you started the business, and remember it's not going to be easy, but it's the reason why you started. Just look at those carefully every year.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes it'll tick some boxes and not others, and that's okay. So long as it is ticking some of those boxes that you intended it would in the beginning. And also it's okay to put down some things as a priority for a while you meet other priorities. So that's a really great insight. Is anyone else really hating their business right now and just, you know, wanting to either be done with it or it needs a radical change? No, cool. Okay. So see, Christelle and Pamela are honeymoon phase, so we're good.
No,
Okay.
I was there last year. I definitely was there last year.
Were you applying for jobs? Was it that bad?
Yes, last year I was looking for jobs, 7 years in business, and last year I was looking for jobs, and luckily there was just nothing as sweet as this, so I'm still here.
I think you've become unemployable, Pamela.
It's a good place to be.
Okay, so chapter 2 is all about these 3 personalities that we as entrepreneurs have within us. Everyone who goes into business is 3 people in one. You have got these 3 different personalities with different needs, different interests, and they love to sabotage one another. So in the book, he talks about the skinny person and the fat person. I have that conversation with myself every day. So the entrepreneur, and I've put them in this order. He talks about them in a different order, but I've put them in this order because for me it's like a timeline. It's like the entrepreneurs in the future. So that's on the right, the managers in the past, so that's on the left, and the technicians in the now. And so I love how he talks about the entrepreneur as being this dreamer, an opportunity spotter, innovative, excited, lives in the future. But because he has all these dreams and these visions, he also has a great need for control. And he needs to bend everybody to his will and control the managers and control the technicians so that they will do what he wants them to do. He sees the world as an abundance of opportunities and sees the people that work for him as his biggest obstacle in meeting these opportunities, and people just get in his way. So that is the entrepreneur. The manager is a much more pragmatic person, your personality that wants order, that wants everything to be predictable, lives in the past. So the entrepreneur creates the chaos, and then the manager systematizes the chaos and organizes the chaos and creates the plan and creates the process, and I think sees the problems in the entrepreneur's plan. So I need people like that in my life. I often don't see the problems in my plans. And then we have the technician. The technician is the doer. And oftentimes people start a job because they know how to do something. And so they decide to make a living out of that thing that they know how to do. And so that's probably why we default into this technician state, because we have to do the thing that needs to get done. The technician is not particularly interested in all the ideas. The technician is busy getting the things done and not really interested in duplicating the methodology or organizing the systems. He just wants to get the reports done, get the thing over the line so that he can make today's bread for tonight's dinner. And those are the 3 personalities. Now, I wonder if you had to rate yourself, what do you think you are in terms of manager, technician, and entrepreneur? Who is winning in your world? They say, like, typically 10% entrepreneur, 20% manager, and 70% technician. And definitely, if you are a solopreneur and you're running your own business, there's got to be a large weighting of technician. Be very interesting to hear from Derek, you know, now that you've got people working for you and doing the things that need to get done. What do you think, where do you think you sit in terms of the percentages between the 3 warring personalities that an entrepreneur has?
Yeah, so I mean, I think if my business is anything to go by, the technician role is definitely where you start. A lot of the time is there. I've set the business up now where I'm much less of a technician, but I would categorize myself probably as a frustrated entrepreneur. So I want to be in that space, and I lean to that space. But I just can't get the momentum in that space. So it's frustrating. And then I default back to either manager or technician because I know how to do that, and it's an easier place to be in. So yeah, so it's roles that change, and the weighting of what you are at a particular life cycle of the business changes, and you've just got to accept that that's what is needed in the business. But I've set the business up, I think, quite nicely for me to move out of the technician role, and I need to find my feet in the entrepreneur role again, and start up some new things, either, you know, new opportunities in growing the existing business or new businesses. But yeah, there's a fair amount of frustration, but not as much as I was frustrated for years and years. I was stuck in that technician role. Yeah, probably didn't play as much of the manager role as I should have. And I realized that when I bought a company a couple of years ago, and I saw how important that process and systems were, which I didn't realize how important they were, how much easier it makes things and puts everybody on the same page. So if you're playing one particular role, maybe good to have mentors or people on a board, or just a hubby or a friend that can play the other role that you know is very good at the other role, just to help you through some of those questions.
Great. Pamela, what about you? Manager, technician, entrepreneur. Where do you think you spend the majority of your time?
So I think I definitely spent most of my time as a technician, but I'm probably sitting at about 50 now, and then split between entrepreneur and manager. Definitely prefer technician and entrepreneurial, hate management, hate people, love people, but hate managing people. So I'm very like not there. Like when Sabata, when you were telling your story about momentum, I also had that same thing at Alexander Forbes, where I was a good technician, and then they thought it would be a great idea to make me a team leader. And I just like that was just not my skill set. I mean, they tried to do the training and all of that, and I try to move into it, but definitely a hard thing to tell other therapists what to do and what not to do. And so then I think it is easier to do it yourself and then potentially move into more entrepreneurial, because that's fun. That's lovely. You know, that's proposals, that's presentations, that's cool stuff. Yeah. So maybe 10% manager and then 50 technician and the rest entrepreneur.
Yeah. Crystal, where are you?
Sorry, I need to find my mouse there. I actually don't know. I feel I'm like an even split about through all three at the moment. Yeah, I do a lot at the moment. I get up early in the morning, stay up late at night. So I'm very active in the technician space, doing it, just getting it all done. But yeah, I'm learning. I don't know exactly where I am, so we'll see. We'll see.
Cool. And Tabata?
Yes, and you know, I think I'm right now a lot of time a technician, and maybe a little bit of time an entrepreneur, because I've been in the business, I would believe, what I would term it a reasonable time. So I think there are just a lot of things that I want to implement, the changes I want to bring. I have entrepreneurial thinking in me, but I just lack management, that systematizing the ideas that I'm having to improve or to lessen my involvement as a technician. I think that's where I currently am right now. If I can break it down into percentages, I would say maybe I'm 70% a technician, 20% an entrepreneur, and management, I'll just give it the remaining 10%, which I think I need to work on it the most.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I mean, I think one of the things to talk about is who, you know, we've spoken about in your world, what is the split between the three? What are you juggling? But I think one of the things to accept is that it's not about who wins. It's not about the entrepreneur must win because then I have a creative business and I spot all the opportunities, or the manager must win because then I have everything systematized and process driven and easy to replicate. And it's not about the technician winning and bringing in as much money as they can, because for a lot of us, if we get involved and we do the doing, that results in invoices, and therefore that results in revenue in the bank. You know, the more projects, the more different projects we can take on, or the more customers we can serve, the more we get sucked into that sort of technician mode. And so it's not about, yes, revenue needs to be earned, but it's not necessarily about you earning that revenue. And in mature businesses, that is obvious. The more customers you have, the more people you often need to hire to do that work. But is that necessarily the case? If we have a manager who's managing lots of technicians, do we really need to be the manager ourselves? So I think one of the things to realize as a business owner is, yes, regardless of whether you're the one doing the work or not, you still have that element of technician. You still have that element of manager and that element of entrepreneur. And there are things that need to be done in the business to keep the business going, and things that need to be done in the business to build the business of the future that you're looking for in the future. So if we think about the 6 areas of business that we often discuss, especially when we do how to grow a small business, and some of you are on that read along. So think about leadership and setting goals for the organization, and setting up that part of the leadership is your entrepreneur part, deciding where you want to go as a business. But then you come down to setting the critical actions in that leadership part for everybody in the business. And that's the manager part. That's deciding who's going to do what and how they're going to do it. So you can have a vision for the business, but you also have to involve the manager. And the manager has to set those critical actions and say, how are we going to do this? The entrepreneur can come up with a really amazing creative marketing strategy, but the manager then has to say, okay, where are we going to put our marketing? How regularly are we going to put our marketing out there? Are we going to use email, or are we going to use LinkedIn messaging, or whatever the case is? And so there's this tandem dance that the entrepreneur and the manager have to do around working on the business. And then there's the technician who essentially is working in the business, is getting the things done inside the business. What do you think about the way that I framed that? Because that's, you know, that's just something that I reflected on after I had, you know, read these chapters. Would you agree? Do you have something to add?
And I think certainly in my business, if the affordability was there, I think the manager is a really important role that one can outsource, or one can bring into the business. As you know, and I get the sense a lot of people, entrepreneur and manager, often at 2 loggerheads. You know, the entrepreneur loves to think and dream, and just it must happen, whereas the manager likes to reflect and say, yeah, we could do this better. Let's put a process in place. Let's get a system in place. So almost 2 competing mindsets in the business. And for me, a manager is, you know, that type of person that's very organized, recognizes a process that can be improved on, understand what needs to be delivered at which time during the month, etc. And if the business can afford a manager, I think a manager is a role which, if you want to play the entrepreneur role, you're going to be at loggerheads. The technician is the easy part, because that's why you started the business. You know, you realized you had a skill and you just did it, and then someone said, okay, well, how do we pay you? And then suddenly the manager had to kick in. So for me, yeah, try and always be the entrepreneur and bring a manager in to help you. I mean, that's just, I should have done that long ago. And that's the step I'm starting to implement at the moment.
I totally agree with what you said. The technician is the easy part, because that's why you started the business, because you knew how to do a thing and you decided to make money from it. I think in some respects, we do bring managers alongside to help us. I've got an outsourced bookkeeper / finance, financial, what do you call them? Accountants. I have accountants with bookkeeper people. And that's because I am really crap at managing that side of my own business. You know, I need someone almost to keep me accountable and say, where are your expense claim slips for the month? And you haven't yet signed off this VAT or this payroll or this whatever. So I did have to bring that in to help me. I think financial management is one of those things you can't afford to get wrong from the get-go. Anyone else brought in managers to help them manage themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I have the same financial support, and I also have a virtual assistant. And she's very good at doing the systems, making sure the reports go out on time. Said it's like the clockwork of the business in order to get to for us to meet our SLAs. But as you guys were talking, as Derek was talking, I was thinking I'm actually an excellent manager in my home. Like I'm really good at telling my kids what to do and where to go, and telling people where to take them. And like I need to just transfer that home management skills into my business, because I don't do I have to mother because I'm the mother, but there's a lot of stuff that I outsource and I get it done. But yeah, that was just such an interesting thing. Like if I could take that into my business, I think it would actually really help me.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Tabata, what about you? Have you outsourced any of these roles, the entrepreneur, the manager, or the technician?
Yeah, the manager and some technicians. On the management side, I believe maybe having the accountant and having an office assistant who will be overlooking at some everyday office happenings and giving you an update. That's where it is. And also appointing other technicians to help you in your technical work. That is where I am at the moment. But I also have a question. Is there ever, well, as I was reading, I asked myself a question. Will there ever be possible for me to actually move out as a technician and be solely an entrepreneur and a little bit of a manager? Because I believe if it is your business, you will never be totally removed from managing, because even if you have outsourced or even if you have other managers that are in the business, you will still time and again touch base with them and learn or hear what is happening. How are they coping? Are they still pulling it to the direction that you would love it to be? So will there ever be a point where, as a technician, the skill that you had and that propelled you from beginning the same business in the first place, will you ever move away from it and totally have other technicians? Or is it not all kind of businesses? Like in my kind of business where I am a therapist, will there ever be a point where I will only have technicians that are outsourced? Maybe Pumla will assist in this aspect as well.
Pamela, what do you think?
I think it's possible, but I just know that some ladies who've got big teams, someone is sick, someone is on maternity leave. There are moments where they need to go back into that technician role. So I don't know if it's totally possible to divorce yourself from it. But I think that if you do majority entrepreneurial and management, then you will occasionally be a technician. And I think in our line of work, the truth is, if you're an OT and you've got the skill set, you can replicate that. The truth is, I think we just love our work and we feel like it just needs to have a Pumla spice or a Sabata spice. But as a manager, you can oversee that and not have to do it yourself. But I think it's just a process of letting go of that, because anyone we employ has got the technical training and skills because they've got a degree like we have. So I do think it's possible with occasional dipping in because of life and because most of us are females. So, that's another factor in terms of who we would hire. Yeah.
OTs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think it's where you want the business to be in 10 years' time. So, you know, if you are loving the business and you wake up every morning and you being the technician and seeing clients and helping clients is what ticks one of those important boxes of yours, then that's absolutely fine. Then you're not in the market to be selling the business until you get to either a certain age or your kids leave home or whatever it is. But just know long-term where you want the business to be. And if you want to one day move out of the business and start something else, then you can't be the technician all the time, because people don't want to buy you, they want to buy a business. And if the business is you, they're not going to buy you because you're not for sale. It's the business that's for sale. So you have to put that sort of marker down at some point in 5 or 10 or never. You know, it's up to you as to ultimately what and where this business is going. If you want your kids to come into the business, if you want family to come into the business, you've got to kind of work backwards from where ultimately that goal is. And if you're having fun as a technician now and you're building the business and it's going well, then don't stress. Enjoy being the technician. You know, just don't drop the ball on the manager role, and don't get stale and old and you know, by not reinventing things and offering something different to clients. But just embrace it and enjoy it. But you know, I'm certainly at the point now where I need to be looking at internal colleagues, external people to taking over my role and moving on to something else. So I can't be the technician because that's not what's for sale. The business is for sale.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience about this, so 2 years ago, at the end of this month, my business partner and I sold our business. And he was not the technician anymore. He was the entrepreneur and the manager to a large extent of many of the people in the business. And I was also much more manager technician. So he was entrepreneur manager and I was manager technician, and we both owned this business together. And when we sold that business, entrepreneur manager was able to leave and he was gone. He was out of the business straight away. But I still had a long handover period because I needed to hand over my managerness and I needed to hand over my technicianness to the people that were staying in the business and to the new business owner. And that's, you know, if you are happy to have a 1-year transfer earn-out period while you hand over to the new owner, then that's fine. But you know, that is the consequence. If you become one of the key resources in your business and then you sell your business, you have to have like some kind of handover period. You're not going to be able to just sort of hand over the keys and walk away. So it does, like Derek is saying, it does depend on how you set yourself up, and what you're wanting from your business is going to determine how you set yourself up. If it's a subsistence business, it's just there to keep you going and to pay the bills, and you are not looking to manage anybody and grow the team, then that's going to determine how it looks. Then you've really created a job for yourself. You haven't actually created like a business. But if you wanted to create a business, something that is going to have value for somebody else in the future, that's going to release value back into your life, then you need to consciously set it up differently. And when I coach business owners, I have 2 different types of customers. I have customers who they want to stay small. They just want to provide the money for them to live the lives they want to live and the flexibility they want to be the parents they want to be. And then I have business owners who want to grow their business and they want to sell their business one day and they want to create significant value. And it's 2 different approaches. It's 2 different types of people. So the question about whether or not you can ever not be the technician, absolutely. I'm working with a practice of physios where the name of the practice, that lady is still in the practice, but she doesn't treat patients. She only treats, like Pamela was saying, she only treats when somebody goes on maternity leave or if somebody is sick for that day and she needs to cover for them. That's only, and only if her schedule allows. Like if she already has meetings booked with other people, then she can't do it. Then she can't stand in that way. And so her practice has got 8 different sites around Johannesburg. it's big. She's got 14 different physios working for her, and she is no longer the technician. She is very much the entrepreneur, dreaming about putting together new products, dreaming about new ways to earn revenue, and then managing the productivity and the critical goals of the people that are working for her. So it is definitely possible, even in private practice as a medical professional. Right, so we've got a few minutes left on this call. I put together, and I have already put it, one of the things that Shirley did in the Profit First read along, which was so great, was at the end of every session, she had a bit of a takeaway, or an action for people to do in the week. And so I thought, if you are struggling to decide if you are a technician, a manager, an entrepreneur, or you'd actually like to get a feel for how much time you're spending in each one of these zones, I've popped this PDF into the Leaders Library space, and it's really about go and have a look or analyze your diary for last week. So just pick last week, which was in a random week, or pick this week, but you want to do almost like a time and motion study of what happened last week. So have a look, what happened during your week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Where were you spending your time? Were you spending your time on strategic ideation, those kinds of things, or were you spending your time on the nitty-gritty, getting down to looking at the finances, doing the bookkeeping? I mean, it's kind of almost month end now, so maybe there were salaries that needed to be paid. It's a pretty good week to look at. Were you spending your time on, with your customers, writing reports, in customer-related meetings, or were you spending your time managing through others, delivering through others? So if you want to do a bit of reflection, for next week, we can come back and just talk about, this is what you thought you were in the meeting, but then when you actually did the analysis, what did it end up being? And was anybody actually surprised with where they landed in terms of their little time and motion study for their activities? And yes, it does start at 5 in the morning and go until midnight at night, because people like Christelle are working at 5 in the morning and at 10 o'clock at night. So I have made it not just key business hours that some of us like to keep. Are there any final thoughts from the session? Christelle, you've been a bit quiet. Anything you'd like to ask or say or add?
I can't add anything just yet, Anne, but I've absorbed everything. I've learned quite a bit now, so I've made my little notes, and I'm keen to do the exercise for next week. But yeah, thank you for sharing. It was really insightful for today.
I hope that your book arrives soon, so you don't have too much to do with that. I think you're now 40 pages behind.
I read quickly, so I'm happy.
Pumla, any insights from you? Anything else you'd like to add or share? Oh, you asked, why are you quiet? Why can't we hear you? I think something's unplugged. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Okay, see if you can fix your technology. Let's move on. Derek, any final thoughts?
And no, all good. Looking forward to getting my teeth into the rest of the book. And also just sharing the journey I've been on with everyone on the call. I think it's a nice mix of people. That'll be good. Thank you.
Okay. Final thoughts, questions? And she's frozen. Oh, there we go. Looks like the internet has decided to revolt against us at the end of this call. Pumla's sound isn't working and Sabata's video has gone frozen. The internet is revolting. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you had anything that you wanted to add, please pop it in the Leaders Library chat, or in the forum. This recording should be available by the end of first thing tomorrow, let's say, if you wanted to come back, and the PDF is already there waiting for you, so you can scribble all over it in soft copy, or you can print it out on hard copy and have a great time. But I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely day.